Hey, LinkedIn. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to the High Vibe Zone. I'm super excited to talk to you guys today. This LinkedIn Live features a person that is super amazing, super awesome, and I just cannot wait. So I'm going to bring him into the live. Mr. John Cronin, how
Hello.
are you?
How's it going?
Oh my gosh.
I got my shirt.
Oh yes, we are humanity powered out, you guys, which is
Okay, I
perfect.
love it. As a crooked. I don't know how am I
Oh,
doing. That's an eye like, whoa, that was weird. I got my diffuser going on next to me. I got
ooh,
good scent coming. I'm
nice. What scent do you have in your diffuser?
Today I have a copabia or something, or copiaba
Okay.
oil. And then I have a thing called Azure. It's a mix of like oranges and
Ooh,
a little frankincense and something.
ooh,
Yeah. So
very nice.
yeah,
Well,
it's
thank
good.
you so much for joining me here in the High Vibe Zone. I'm super excited to talk to you. I know we got some other stuff going on in the background, but I really appreciate you showing up and making time and space as we talk about recruiting for humanity, which is an awesome topic. So, welcome everybody that's watching. Drop some comments. Let us know that you're here. We are going to get started with our encouraging word of the day. Let's see what it is.
All right.
I have no idea what it is going to be, but every time I pull one of these, it's always very synergetic to the conversation. So let's see what we get and see what it means. And we're going to do this one. Everything counts. That is our encouraging word of the day. John, what do you think that means to you? Like, what does that mean to you?
Well, I think every action that everything you do counts. Like how you act, how you talk to people, how you behave. Everything matters. We're all one, they say. So it affects what your behaviors, your words affect so many other things. Have definitely a trickle effect. So everything counts. Yeah, and every person counts. That's important too.
John, you're just so magical. Yes, that is so true. I mean, I will just say +1 to everything that you have said. And, in the context of what we're talking about in recruiting, everything does count. From the amount of time it takes for you to get back to a candidate, to how you follow up with them, to how you don't follow up with them. Like every component of that counts. So, oh my gosh, I'm excited for this conversation. I have some questions to ask you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Just for everybody that's watching.
Coffee.
Oh, what kind of coffee do you have?
I made it's this new I'm obsessed with this Hawaiian coffee. It's called the Lion, and it's their toasted coconut. So I became a big boy in coffee land, and I bought a grinder.
You.
I know, and before I was doing Keurig forever, and after a while I'm like, it just doesn't taste good.
Huh?
I literally had it for 10 years, and long story short, so I was in Hawaii a couple of years ago with family, and we tried this, and I got hooked on it. So I during COVID, because I have a lot more time, I decided to upgrade my coffee setup. And I love it. But the problem is I love the flavor so much that I have to be careful not to drink too much, because then I'm like this the rest of the day, because I still want the coconut, but I'm like shaking.
Oh my God. I mean, okay. For y'all watching out there, John and I used to work together. John doesn't need any coffee, okay? Like, you have such good energy. Coffee is like energy times 20.
I know. I love the I guess the ceremony, the whole thing of having coffee in the morning. I was always a green tea person forever.
Yeah.
And then I was always around other people that are having coffee. Like when we were at Imager, we had the huge coffee bar, and I just get used to every day having a cup of coffee. And I should probably try decaf, but I should be careful. I'm wired.
I love it. I don't know if it does come in decaf, but
I don't think so. I don't think someone does. No.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. Let's start off with, while we're twinsies wearing our humanity power shirts, I can only guess the answer that you're going to give. Do you feel recruiting can use more humanity?
Oh my God, yes. I mean, it's one of the struggles I have right now in recruiting is there are a million tools out there that they're trying to automate the process so much, which I get. When you're growing hiring a lot of people to an organization, you want to automate certain things, but the problem is you can automate it too much. I recently did some contract work and for several different companies, and one of them, everything was so automated that it was uncomfortable for me, because my thing has always been build a good candidate process, because you have to remember that everybody counts. Everything counts. We were talking about earlier, and people put a lot of time into getting ready for a phone screen, for an onsite, or today for Zoom onsites, whatever you want to call it. And I noticed when everything's automated, you don't get the touch points that you need to build a relationship. Because at the end of the day, my role in recruiting is we're facilitators in a process where you've got to know the role really well, right? You're the sales rep, so to speak, but you're the business advocate to the business team of really knowing the role and finding the right person. But when it comes to the candidate side, you have to they're on their own life journey, right? Their own path of like where they're going in their world. I can't try to fit them into a hole that fits my spot. Like my role is to see what they really want in their career, and see if, knowing my role, if this is a good fit or not, and building that relationship with them so that you can have these conversations. And the issue is a lot of people don't do that. When you put all these tools in and you don't have the touch points, it's an uncomfortable process. I hear all the time, when I really try to go out of my way to make it a good experience for all candidates. And as you know, because we worked together for years, and time and time again, I will ask candidates, well, how was your experience at, if they've got 3 offers, tell me about the experience you had during the interviewing process. And people are, they're barely talked to by the recruiter. Really the handoff happens like they get a sourcer, and then they get a coordinator, and then the recruiter talks to them for 15 minutes, and then the coordinator steps back in and schedules everything. There's no relationship building. And one of the reasons what I love about being in recruiting is the relationship building. I love that piece of it. I love the people aspect. We're a people business, right? Yes, you have to automate certain things, but at the same time, nobody is going to attack you or be upset with you that you got to know a candidate too much.
No, oh my gosh, I love what you said. It's really build a good candidate process, and then once you have that built out, then add a bit of automation to really help get you over the funnel. But don't use automation to substitute that human element.
There's always a piece you have to automate in order to scale your hiring. There's no question about it. But you also have to, a lot of companies, you have to remember the people aspect of things. You've got to remember that. And candidates will always reward you with their thank yous, and whether or not they take the offer or not, but there's nothing worse than feeling like you didn't give a candidate a good process. And I was at that place I told you recently where, I don't get that many declines when I give an offer. And I don't, because I make sure I know my candidate and I know what's right for them. And it should be an easy decision. It should be an easy conversation to have about, are you ready to move to an offer and ready to accept? You've gotten all the information, you know the candidate really well, and both of us should be on the same page. We're like, this makes sense. Let's do it. As well as somewhere in the process, it should be, this isn't right for you. This doesn't make sense for where you're saying you want to go. Like, I don't think you're going to get this out of this position. Again, they got to do what's best for their career. They're on their own life journey. So,
how long have you been recruiting?
I'm 26.
I love you so much.
I have been, oh my gosh, I fell into it actually. I was working for a consulting firm in Boston, and a friend of mine from college, we had taken one HR class together. And she's like, hey, I know you're in consulting. We need to hire for the whole Y2K. It's a huge issue that's going to come up, and we got to hire a lot of consultants. And since you're coming from the consulting world, would you like to be on the recruiting side of hiring consultants? And I was like, oh God, what is HR? I certainly didn't know what recruiting was. It wasn't a thing like it is now. Anyway, she's like, I was in my 20s, and she's like, you'll travel all over the country in Canada. And I was like, oh my God, sign me up. So I fell into it. And I loved it, really, really loved it. And so I've been doing it now for over 25 years. Nice. 25 years or so. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I love that. What do you, I mean, what do you, I can maybe again guess, but what do you love most about recruiting?
I love most about recruiting is the people side of things. If I, there's nothing, it sounds so cheesy, but it is a great feeling when you help someone accept and change jobs and improve their life. And of course, it's always nice when they're getting a salary increase and that's bettering their life. And they're now going to be challenged, what makes them excited again. Because a lot of times people leave jobs because they have bad managers and they're not respected within the organization. I mean, it goes on and on and on. But at that point in the stage, what I do is a lot of it's roses. Like, it's like, oh my God, I've given you a new lease on life and you're super excited. That's the best feeling.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day too, I love people, as you know, so it's great. It's fascinating. People fascinate me. So I love learning more about people and at the end of the day, just building these good relationships. Cause to me, that's what it's all about. If you remove the relationship piece of it, it was more of a transactional thing. It just wouldn't be something that interests me at all.
Yeah.
There are companies, that are like that. Oh my God. Yeah. I have several ones I went through.
Not gonna name drop today, maybe later.
No name.
Do you ever get attached to your candidates?
I get really attached sometimes. Yeah. I mean, I have some lifelong friends that I hired and that's not, the goal is to hire the right person, of course, but it's sort of the icing on the cake. As you know, I know I did a good job, and our team did a good job building the right culture where we met at Imager, and we hired the right people. And on top of it, culture-wise, it was what we were looking for. They were really good, upstanding, great human beings.
Yeah.
And that is important to me too. You're at a startup and you have control of the culture in this role. You've got to be really, really tough about keeping that culture. The culture grows and expands and stuff. You're the culture expert, but you have a huge responsibility on bringing the right talent. I worked for an organization, a startup that went really big, and I saw them hiring the wrong people. Our recruiting team went from like 5 of us to like 20 of us really quick. And I saw some of these executives being brought in that weren't culture fits. They came from places that were known for bad culture.
Oh, wow.
And it completely changed the company. Yeah. It was not a good place to work very quickly. Yeah.
Man. Yeah, that can definitely ruin a culture when you don't have the right adds to the culture and they're more like subtracts. They subtract.
And it was a hot product company. And you talk to people who've worked there, and you talk to people who, I heard about that. Oh, I heard about that. That's a terrible, I don't want to, who wants to build that kind of culture where people are talking about how awful it is to work there?
Yeah, I think, John, I think you just inspired me. We definitely need to have another conversation about culture, because you have a lot of insight there, and that's like my vibe. I love talking about culture. So I think we'll do like a part 2 of this. What would you say for companies that are looking to bring more humanity into their recruiting? What would you say like they should do? Maybe like 2 or 3 tips that they could do, something that you've used before. What would you encourage them?
Well, I think there's more touch points you can do on the human element. It's funny, like we talked about, there are some tools that you want to scale, but you want to, you want to ask. I used to tell my recruiters that used to give them several questions like, do you know XYZ about each candidate that you're taking in a process? I think once you get a candidate into an on-site process, you really need to get to know them. I mean, I've done it where, just in conversation, because you don't really ask personal questions, but when you get to know them and you get to know their background and you get to learn who they're all about. They will tell you information about their lives and who they are, and they will open themselves up to you. And you learn a lot more based on having, a lot of places will be like, you have a 15-20 minute intake recruiter call. I'm like, oh, no. Mine's like 45 minutes at least. Yeah. Like, I mean, again, you got to look at scale. So what it would take, obviously, is it does take a little more manpower on the team. on the recruiting team, but you can't go wrong with that. At the end of the day, what does one extra salary cost a company when you're hiring the right people into a culture? And hiring the right people is getting to know them. And like I've had candidates when they come on site where, just did a little research and talking to them, it was their birthday or near their birthday, and we'd have a cake for them. You remember we did that when you were there, and or if there was something special going on in their spouse's life, like you get to know them and you listen to your candidate. And that's the biggest thing. It's not about what frustrates me is when I'm interviewing, I will get on a recruiter call. Recruiting has a horrible reputation because there's a lot of recruiters out there that they weren't trained to look at it as a people thing. They're trained to, you need to ask, all right, this is a blah, blah, blah role. So these are the 12 questions you need to ask. And so you get on a call and they're just scripting it and they're writing it like, well, tell me a time you did this. Tell me, okay, that's great. Da, 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 da. And they're not listening to you. And they're not trying to get to know you. They're trying to get through the 25 screens they have that week. Not really looking, not listening to me, my answers to see, am I the right culture fit? Am I saying things that should direct you? Because you should have, blueprint idea of what you're going to ask for any candidate. But then there needs to be a lot of leeway of where you take it left and right. Because if someone said, dig deeper, to pause more if they've said something that's pretty, profound for them, that's interesting it could be for us. So it's listening. And so tool wise, yes, it does take some more manpower. But at the end of the day, you're not going to go wrong with having a little extra manpower.
I like that. Thank you for sharing that. And because you have so much knowledge and wisdom, trying to capture it in one conversation won't do it justice, but I don't want to forget about those people out there looking for jobs. And what would you say, maybe your best advice for someone that is either in a company looking to make a move, someone that has been recently laid off? How can they stand out to the right recruiter? So this is a recruiter that gets humanity, that is, taking like someone like yourself. How could they stand out to you?
So it's interesting. Getting to know the company, doing your research on the company is so important, as we know. It really is, though. Like checking out their Instagram, their Twitter, all of their social sites to see what they're talking about. Also getting to know the space. If it's like I'm now in fintech, which is new for me, I'm learning a lot about the fintech space, which is, as I said, is not something I have been in before. So when you know the space and you know the company, you can talk. So my biggest thing, I always feel for the candidate. Like I'm always sensitive to the process they're going through. Coming on site, I'm always hard on my hiring managers because I'm like, I don't care. There's always these debates where, well, if they don't do well in their first interview, let's let them go. And I was like, you know what? People have taken half a day off to do this interview. They've come here to get to know your company. They've prepared, they've put a lot of time into it. We can at least give them the respect to give them that interview day. Okay, let's say we realize technically not strong enough, but we can finish it out. We don't have to do as long of an interviews, but we can give them the respect that they deserve so that they walk away no matter what, knowing if they didn't do well, but respecting us as an organization, going, you know what? I did not do well, but I liked that company. I liked everyone I met. And to me, that's more important. People say, I don't want to waste my engineers' times, the rest of it. You're not wasting their time, because everybody's building their own relationships with somebody and building their own network, their own LinkedIn network with every candidate they interview. And at the end of the day, with Glassdoor and all these tools, it's very easy to go out there and trash a company, and rightfully so for some experiences. When you've put in the time, I've been there where I put the time in to prepare and I was not treated with the respect on that other side. And it's not a good feeling. No. The one thing, getting back to your question, a lot of people will write cover letters. I do think cover letters are good. However, only do them if you truly are into writing a good cover letter. Because a lot of times I don't like cover letters because I've caught so many people who just change the name of the company and they forget to put the name in it. So you're getting a cover letter for another company. And want to give the candidate the benefit of the doubt, and when you see those mistakes, obviously it's an issue, right? So it's a problem because you're now like, oh my gosh, do they have any attention to detail? Like, looking for. So I say to people out there, only do a cover letter if you truly are going to write a cover letter for that company.
Yeah.
Now, if there's companies that when you're sending your resume off on LinkedIn, because it's a job posting, it asks for a cover letter. If you can't sit down and write a cover letter that excites you, then you don't know enough about the company. You shouldn't be applying. It's like, don't do that to yourself. Like, you don't change jobs all the time. So be selective and do your homework.
Yeah.
Is the culture a right fit for you? Do you see the growth that you need for your career? Like, you've got to do the research, and then just plainly tell like what excites you about that company, what it means to you, and why you're sending me this letter. And I totally respect it. And I say to people, hit me up on LinkedIn as well. If you apply online, also try to get my email and send me a note, because at the end of the day, if I've got 700 people that applied, it's a very small percentage likelihood I'm going to get to you in time before we find somebody. So go the extra mile if it's a company you truly believe in.
I love that. I'm going to write this down and share it, because it is, and I've had experiences where I'm like starting to write a cover letter and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. It's not.
It's not the right company. Like, you're doing it because you're like, it's a numbers game. Oh my God, I've got to hit. I got 30 jobs, and maybe 2% will get back to me. And so it's like, focus on the companies that aren't even necessarily looking for your role, and reach out on LinkedIn to the head of recruiting or someone in the group, do a little research and say, hey, if a role opens up, I am really interested. Here's my background. A lot of kids, so I started out in college recruiting for consulting firms, and a lot of college kids are told to send from the alumni programs and stuff, say, well, send somebody an email on LinkedIn or an in-mail saying, I would love some time, I'm a recent grad. I would like a few minutes of your time to talk about my career and blah, blah. And it's like, that doesn't work. Like, people are so busy. And and I sit there and I pause, because I would love to get back to them. But if I'm getting 50 of those a day,
right,
I can't, or a week or whatever, it's not the right approach. And, a lot of the younger students are being told this. Honestly, I can't get to them, and I don't get to them, because it's at the end of the day, when you're swamped and you're trying to get a lot of it done, you want it. Like, if I reach out to that person, I give them a touch point, I want to make sure it's a good experience. Yeah. So I don't want to make a touch point if I can't give them a good experience. So I don't recommend people to say, I love you. I would love to, take some time to network and be, it's like you send one off to everyone that went to Syracuse or everyone went to the school. It's not, I don't think it's the right approach.
Right. Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay. I want to hear about the company you're working for.
Sure.
Tell me a little bit about that. And then as a follow-up to that, are you hiring? What, kind of tell people a little bit about that.
Sure. So I joined Chipper Cash, and I love it. It's in the fintech space. It's, everyone likes to, describe a company in a few words. I would say it's Venmo of Africa. So it's P2P in this P2P space, but we're actually a lot more than that now. But it's in Africa. So we're in 8 different countries on the continent. And the problem with what I love about this product is a lot of people in Africa do not have bank accounts, and they don't have credit cards. So I think I just read somewhere like 64% don't have a bank account.
Wow.
And that's crazy. And so our product allows people to send their loved ones and friends money free within the borders of their country. And then there is a small fee if they send money to friends and family, whoever outside the borders, but the fees will be the lowest fees they can be versus other companies that have much, much higher fees that they use. So we're allowing it to make it more, the everyday person can send loved ones money, and our 2 co-founders are from different parts of Africa, and they were finding that as an issue when they were, being in the States and trying to, send back to loved ones. So I love it. We have cards, we're now doing some crypto, nice. We're doing ways people buy airtime. So it's allowing Africans on the continent to be able to live lives like the rest of us and buy things online and help their families and pay their rents. And so I love the mission. It absolutely excites me. So excites me. And the team is passionate people from we're hiring worldwide. So we're fully remote company anyway. So even before COVID.
Nice.
So we're hiring across the continent of Africa. We're hiring in the UK. We're hiring in South America, hiring a little in the US for sure. But our focus is really more on a global hiring plan.
Nice.
So yeah, and I'm hiring, of course, engineers, back-end engineers. I'm hiring product folks. Compliance is obviously a big space, a big issue when you're in fintech. So a lot of those.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's people who are really, really want to work for a company that has a mission that is about compassion and helping people. So that's what signed me up.
Nice. I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
If people are looking to join or just get in contact with you, what is the best way for them to what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
If they're going to actually write something that they've done, that they really care, they can do john@chippercash.com.
Okay.
I'm also on LinkedIn, as you know.
Yes.
We're on LinkedIn right now, aren't we?
Yeah, we are live on LinkedIn.
Hi. Yeah, so that's my email. But again, remember, my issue is, we're growing quite quickly. So I think we have we have 100 people now, and
Okay.
Our growth this year is almost double in size. So,
Nice.
Yeah, send me an email. I would love to hear from you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. But wait, we're about to close out this conversation, John. You have to come back. Will you come back?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's close out with a word, our encouraging or more of our affirmation word of the day. I'm going to let you pick it, John. Essentially what this means is it takes what you're feeling. So how are you feeling now? I mean, I could just feel your energy. So I doubt it's a low vibrational word or a word that you are feeling that's like high vibrational. It could be anything like hope or brave or blissful or whatever. So it's a word. And then I read our affirmation and I close this out.
For me right now, compassion is my thing.
Compassion. All right. Let me see what I have.
Empathy.
Here. Oh, I do. I have compassionate. I have not read this one before. Let's do it. Okay. All right. Everyone needs to practice compassion in their lives as much as possible. In relationships, compassion for what your partner is feeling is secret to a long-lasting, happy union. We also need to cultivate more self-compassion and stop being so darn hard on ourselves for the silliest little reasons. Remember, if you can hold more compassion in your heart for another person or for yourself beyond the labels of right or wrong, then you're filtering your experiences through the eyes of the universe. It is truly transformative. I once held the hand of a convicted child offender when he was just days from dying. He couldn't speak at all, and he could only communicate with his eyes. I didn't know the details of what he had done, but I had held compassion for the process of dying from a space beyond beyond his inexcusable actions. He had fear in his eyes, and I will never forget. I showed up in the present moment and held compassion the best I could. Trust me, it was difficult, but it taught me a very valuable lesson. True compassion can be solely reserved for people you believe deserve it. If you truly believe in transformative power of compassion, then you trust the energy you put out there will stay and will always return to you. Compassion instead of judgment is where profound spiritual strength is born. Here is our affirmation. How can I show up with more compassion in this moment? Show me ways to see beyond my judgment, to see the energy of love and healing to people in need. This allows me to rise above the energy of wrongness and not contribute to its growth. May my awareness facilitate healing. So it is, and so it shall be.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it.
I love it.
Thank you so much, John. Just stay 1 second. I'm going to close this out. Thank you to everyone that has watched live or that has watched this recording. You've been in the high vibe zone. We talk about high vibrational conversations around culture and raising the vibration to end the isms that are harming humanity. I just spent some amazing time with my special guest, John Cronin, and I will see you guys next week, same time on the High Vibe Zone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to close this out, John. Don't go anywhere. Bye, guys.
Bye.